Hello and welcome to the fourth video in this Jira administration video tutorial series. In the first video we covered what is Jira, why use Jira, and how to set up your free 30-day on-demand Jira trial via the Atlassian website. Secondly, we covered how to set up your Jira environment, so the top-level system settings available to Jira administrators, what they are and when to use them. Thirdly, we covered how to set up a basic project using all of the system defaults. And then I went through, created an issue, and showed you simultaneously what was going on in terms of the administrative view of the screen, and also then we worked through the transitions available to users, and simultaneously we were looking at the workflow in the back end. So the fourth video, setting up fields and screens. This is quite a long video. I make no apologies for that. It's quite detailed, but hopefully you'll find it fun and engaging, and you might want to get yourself a snack or something to drink, and we'll get started right now. Then in later videos, I should say before we do actually, we'll look at the final aspects of administration, so users, groups, notifications, permissions, and workflows. Now we'll get started. Right. So in this video, what I want you to do is imagine, it's all based off of the previous work, so the previous project we created. So in this video, a project manager comes to you with a request, and the request is that he would like fewer fields for the bug issue type. So at the moment, you will see that when you go create an issue, you will see that there are a wide array of fields, so labels, epic labels, attachments, and so on and so forth. What the project manager would like is for far fewer fields to exist so that people can focus on exactly what they need to fill in. Secondly, what we're going to do is rename the bug issue type to issue, or at least that's what the project manager wants. We'll cover that in a moment. Then he wants the close button to have a satisfaction rating capture field. So when we've got an open issue, such as this one, if we click on the workflow and close, you'll see by default, because of the default workflow, Atlassian have defined this as the close screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in an additional field called satisfaction rating, a numeric value from a drop-down list, so that people can rate how well they feel about the service that they received. Next. So once that's done, you will see that, once that's done, I would strongly advocate trying to rework stroke resequence what you're doing. Just make sure you understand the requirements. So in this video, in the order I'm going to do it, I'm going to start by renaming or at least looking into the issue type, and all the issues surrounding that. Secondly, we're going to create two new fields, steps to reproduce and satisfaction rating. Thirdly, we're going to edit the close screen to include the satisfaction rating field. And finally, we're going to create a new screen with the following fields, that you can see, and then we're going to link that back to the original issue type. So it should all be quite interesting. So before we get started on the practical, let's have a little review of what issue types are. So issue types essentially are these options here. See these? These are all the options you can use to sort of label, refine by your ticket, and they're useful when searching and so on and so forth. And also from a project management perspective, you could say what is billable, what is a top priority, and so on and so forth. From an administrative perspective, if we click on issues, I already had it open, never mind. You can see you get a list of, on the left hand side here, there's a list of all the different pages associated with administering a project. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to talk you through what the issue types ones are about, the screens and the fields. So issue types first of all. So what issue types exist in the system? Very simple. So this is the list right here. Then issue type schemes. So this has what you'll find with Jira quite a lot is you have schemes that relate to projects and then items beneath the scheme. So Issue types can be associated to issue type schemes in the same way that screens can be associated to screen schemes, and fields can be associated to field configuration schemes, or something like that anyway. The reason we have these schemes is so there can be different rules for different projects. Okay. Finally, under issue types at least, there's subtasks. So subtasks allow custom issue types for child tickets. Okay. So I don't want to get into too much depth on this. Suffice to say that if we do go onto that page, you'll see that you have a simple option of, well, at the moment they're enabled. If they're not enabled, instead of saying disable, it will say enable. If you click on enable, you can have subtasks, okay? And then if we go into, if we then go into a ticket such as, hang on, let's find one. Let's go into this one, okay? So if we go into this one and click on more, you can see that subtasks, because they're enabled, you can access it there. Create a subtask, and there's the issue types currently associated to it. Okay, right, let's get back on it. So that's in a nutshell what issue types are about, okay? Fields and screens, right. So under the, continuing down our list of administration pages, so if you click on the screens page, you'll be taken to a list of screens, and if you dig further, you'll be able to see what fields belong on what screen, okay? And you can add and remove them there, okay? Next up, screen schemes. So this allows you to customize what screens are shown based on a particular operation, such as create, view, or edit an issue, okay? Issue type screen schemes. So this is all about what screen to show for what issue type. Okay, so that's where that comes into play. Okay, and we'll come into this a bit in more detail later. So custom fields. So define the custom fields that exist. So that's all there is to it. Very simple. Field configurations are fields on screens. Question mark. Are they hidden? Are they mandatory? Okay. And finally, field configuration schemes. So this is how you associate a scheme to a project, essentially. Okay, right. We finished the presentation, but what we're going to do is we're going to actually use this slide to give us a little task list. And I'd strongly recommend that you have a list of tasks when you're working through Jira administration things, so you keep track and it's all very clear and understandable. Okay. So we're going to start with the issue type bug. Okay, so we need to be not that one. We need to be here. Right. So first up, you'll see a list of issue types, and what we're going to do is we're going to well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Right. So you'll see that there's the bug issue type right here. Now we could click on edit. Okay. And we could simply rename it right here. So from bug it becomes issue. Okay. And we'd click on update, and that would be sufficient. However, in this particular project there's actually two projects already. There's a Freaky Fun project, which I set up earlier, and there is the Fun Bugs project, which we've been working through. Now, with the Freaky Fun project, we don't want to get rid of the bug issue type. We want to keep that as is. If we change the name here, it will affect all projects in the system. So instead, what we want to do is create a new issue type. Okay, so we'll create a new one called issue. Okay, we'll give it a specific icon just for the fun of it, because it's always fun to play. If I click on create issue now, you'll be able to see it there. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So we have created the issue type. I created a new issue type issue. Now what we want to do is associate the new issue type. We've got to associate it to the issue type scheme first. So what we need to do is create an issue type scheme that will then belong to the FunBugs project. Okay, so we're going to create a FunBugs project here. FunBugs. Okay. Right, then what we want to do is select the issue types that are going to be available to users in the FunBugs project. So we're going to have improvement, issue, we don't need bugs, so I want it to be alphabetical, new features, and also tasks. Okay, so they will be the 4 issue types. Okay. However, at this stage, if I were to create a new issue, you will see that the issue type list hasn't changed. Why, I hear you ask? Well, it's very simple. We haven't yet associated the issue type, let's see, you haven't associated the issue type scheme to the project. So at the moment it's still using the default one. So if we click into that, okay, you'll see this is the scheme we're using, and what we do is we simply go use a different scheme, okay, fun bugs, okay, and we're done. Okay, so now when we go create issue, let's go back. Why didn't that work? Oh, I see. We've got to finish the wizard first. Okay, so what you'll see is we've got the issue that we created in the previous video as a bug now has to be migrated over. So click on next. Okay, the issue type it will become is issue. Click on next. Okay, all field values will be retained. That's absolutely fine. Click on next. And finally, you'll see a little summary. The target project is fun bugs, and the target issue type is issue. Excellent. Finish. Cool. So now we'll go create issue. Okay. Okay, and you'll see that the list has shrunk and has the issue types that we defined in it. Excellent. Right. Okay. So, where are we up to? So, we haven't renamed it. We've created a new issue type issue. We now want to, let's see, we associated the issue type to an issue type scheme, and we associated that to the project, okay, something like that. So what we now need to, this bit's slightly misleading, we'll come back to that in a moment, okay. So let's skip ahead, create two new fields, steps to reproduce, and satisfaction rating, okay. So, this is a very simple process. Okay, so you navigate to fields, so you're in the administration area, issues, yep. Click on custom fields, okay, and then click on add custom field. Right, now you'll see, I could do a tutorial on every single one of these field options, but instead I'm just going to focus on the main ones. So the ones you'll probably come across are things like free text field, date picker, which just gives you a selection of dates to choose, like due date would use that one, I believe. Okay, there's also text field, so a short text field. Okay, select lists, which will give you a list of, so you define a list of options and choose the ones you want, or multi-select as well. Okay. So, at the moment, we are trying to create a steps to reproduce field. That means we need a free text field, unlimited text, okay? So we'll do that. We don't want it to be limited, so we'll use the full one. Okay, we want to call it steps to reproduce. Okay, cool. I generally ignore the search template. I've never needed to use that. Okay. Next up, the issue types. This is only going to belong to the issue type issue, okay? And it's also only going to belong to the Funbugs project, okay? So we'll select those and click on Finish, okay? At this point, then we're asked to select what field it belongs to. Well, we haven't. What screen it belongs to? Well, we haven't created the screen yet, so we can't do that. So we'll come back to that later. First, let's create our second field, okay? So the next field is satisfaction rating, okay? So add, okay? This is a slightly different field. This time we're going to create a select list, okay? And click on next, okay? So this will be called satisfaction rating, okay? Okay, please tell us what you think. 1 equals poor, 5 equals excellent. Okay, cool. Okay. For this one, we can leave it for any issue type and any project, so that's what we'll do. Click on Finish. Okay, and yet again we're asked for a screen, but we haven't created them yet, so we don't need to worry about it. Okay. So, next up, edit the close screen to include the satisfaction rating field. Right. So what we need to do, we'll navigate to our screens. Okay. And you will see that we have a default screen, which is where for the create issues page essentially. So this is the Jira default screens. The one we're interested in at this stage is the resolve issue screen, okay, and possibly the workflow screen as well. So what we'll do, we'll click on configure, okay, you'll see these are the fields we currently have. What we need to also add in now is satisfaction rating. Okay, we'll stick that at the top. Okay, alright, and then you'll also see just a point of interest that we've been asked now to re-index the system. Okay, generally speaking, that's a good idea once you've finished your administration work. But if you have a problem while you're doing it, sometimes re-indexing can help. Okay. So anyhow, what we want to do is navigate to an issue. So we're going to navigate to FB1. Okay, and now I'm going to attempt to close the issue. And you'll see now we have the satisfaction rating field. Please tell us what you think. 1 is poor, 5 is excellent. But you'll also have noticed we don't yet have any options, so we need to define that. So we go back into the custom fields page. Okay, navigate down to satisfaction rating, click on the little cog, click on configure. Okay, then click on where it says options, click on edit options. Okay, and then we simply add in the values that we need. Okay, now I recognize that I am going very fast here, but hopefully you'll either be able to follow, or if not, you feel free to go back, rewatch as needed. Okay, so that's what it's all about. Yeah, so add the values in, and we're done. So now we've defined these custom values for our field. Okay, and if we reload, so you'll see here we are, and I'm going to give it a 3, right? Simple, yep. So that's been done. Okay, so what we've now got is the closed screen has satisfaction rating field on it. Okay, so now we need to create a new screen with the following fields: summary, priority, description, steps to reproduce, and due date. Okay, so let's get started on that. Where do I need to be? I need to be in here. Okay, so then we want to be on screens. Okay, and what we're going to do is create a new screen, and we'll call this the Fun Bugs Issue Screen. Okay, so this is specifically the screen just for the issue type, right? Okay, so what was this? What do we need? We need summary, priority, description, right? Summary, priority, description. Okay, steps to reproduce, which we created earlier, and due date. Yeah, cool. So that is now created and configured. Excellent. Now, what we need to do next is set up our screen scheme. Okay, so we're going to go add screen scheme and call it Fun Bugs. Okay, we're not going to be mucking around too much with this particular operations, but yeah. Well, let me carry on and all become clear. Okay. So what we've done is we now have so for the screen scheme Fun Bugs, it's going to use the Fun Bugs issue screen for any default operation. Okay. But that's not quite what we want. What we want is to refine it based on we want to refine it based on issue type. So bear with me a bit because this bit's a little bit tricky, but what we want to do is create an issue type screen scheme. We'll call that Fun Bugs. Okay. And the we're going to call it the screen scheme Fun Bugs. Okay. So what we're saying here is that for any default issue type, use the screen scheme Fun Bugs. But that screen scheme is set up, if you recall, that screen scheme is set up to use the Fun Bugs screen, right? But we actually don't want that. What we actually want instead is, okay, I know it's complicated, bear with me. What we actually want is this to be a bit different. So for, oops, not for the default one, we want the default screen scheme, okay? Because that will use the default screen, okay? But for the issue type issue, then we want the Fun Bugs screen scheme, which will use the Fun Bugs screen, if that makes sense. So it's quite a long, convoluted process, I accept, but it does all link together like pieces of a jigsaw. Okay. So let's check this out. Let's see if this has worked. Okay, so for the improvements issue type, it should still be the default one, which it is. And for the, let's see, fingers crossed, for the issue one, it's okay. I know why. We haven't yet associated, so just like in the last, with the issue type schemes, we have to associate this issue type screen scheme to the project. Okay, so we go into the project, and then we go into Funbugs, yet again, okay, and we navigate to, I wonder if we've got it here, yeah, we go, so screens, it's currently using the default issue type screen scheme. But instead, what we want it to be using is the Funbugs issue type screen scheme. Yep. So we associate that. Okay. And now let's test it out. Let's see if this has worked. Fingers crossed. Okay. Yeah. There we go. So that's really, he says, all there is to it. Okay. So what we've done is we've created the new issue type, issue, okay? We've associated it to an issue type scheme, which we then associated to the project. We created the new fields, steps to reproduce and satisfaction rating. We added the satisfaction rating field to the closed screen. We then created a new screen with all these fields in it, including a new field that we created there. And finally, we associated that screen all the way through to the project. Okay, and that's all there is to it. So now, when you create an issue, you'll see you get your custom issue types and your custom field. Job's done, and that's all there is to it. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.